With that word, knowledge of self-determination. With that word, knowledge of self-determination. Man, somebody give me a contract. Did you hear that? All right, cool. While you try to figure that out, let's get into the joint elements of the day. Today we focus on one of the most important elements of hip-hop, and that's knowledge of self. We got the homie Info Dizzle on this. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I think because of how hip-hop started, you know, it's modern music, so it's more about teaching people about where they're from. I mean, Americans, black Americans, African Americans were taken as slaves. So it gets to a point where you start questioning where you come from, and you know, surnames. You see, they still carry the slave owners' surnames, you know. And I think it's also trying to find out what happened. You want to go back to Africa. So I think it came from yearning for knowing your roots, where you come from, you know. What does a name mean? Because a name is very important. Remember, when you take away a name from someone, you take away ukhumalo or ukhalala, you just take away the person's self-knowledge. You are a nobody. You're just an object. You know, your parents teach you who you are, itagazelo, all those things. Where you come from. Why do you slaughter a goat instead of a sheep? I mean, it's not even just being overlooked in hip-hop. Culture is just becoming primitive to a lot of people. And people start thinking that what we used to do back in the day as Africans in our culture has become as primitive. And I'm referring to artists that don't go back and study their history. So the reason it's not important to other rappers, new rappers, it's because it's not only hip-hop, it's the way society is today, that your history doesn't matter. No one goes back and studies history anymore. It's not that important. And it's unfortunate that the more we don't preserve our history, it's the more we forget about who we are, and we forget about where everything else came from. I think everything that I've done in terms of creativity has layers, you know, whether it be advertising or graphic art or music, it always has a metaphor or some sort of layer to it. It's not just as you see it, there's more to it. So even with Black Power, it's my knowledge of where the movement came from in the 70s with the UEs overseas, you know, studying that and understanding that it wasn't a movement, it wasn't a violent movement as other people make it seem like it is. They think it's a political movement only. They think it's just black people fighting, and it's not that. It's opening libraries in the townships, you know, feeding schemes, teaching people skills to how to empower themselves. That's what Black Power is, and that's what it was when it started. So because now you want to make it seem like it's a violent movement because it's doing positive things amongst black communities, then you want to focus on the violence. You document it, man. Like, we don't have right. You see, our black people, you know what, Africans, I don't know, man. I don't want to offend us as a culture because there are people who are doing great things. But I think because we are so focused on survival, we forget about the important things. And it's unfortunate. It's something that we did not inflict on ourselves. It's something that happened through oppression, apartheid, slavery, all these things. So now it's almost like we are trying to recover from what's happened. But how you preserve your culture is by writing. You know, we need to have books, we need to have films, we need to have photography. You know, you need to have your own guru. You know, when you search for example, a kid in a township or someone talking on the phone in a township on Google, it's hard to find images like that. When you type hip hop, you see images of white people dancing, dressed up in what we call hip hop wear, whatever. So you see, because we don't create content, then we get lost. You listen to, what is it, YFM Hot 99? It sounds like I'm listening to the same song from different artists. Sounds like they all come from the same factory, you know, same producer. Then it becomes a chore. Whereas when you walked in, I played. It was like, I think before you walked in, there was Kilo, there was Criss Cross, there was Biggie. But you see, I can go between what was commercial then and what was underground, and it all sounds good. These days, everyone is biting each other. You know, man, when we were growing up, there was no way that you would bite another rapper and people would be playing your song. You get this on the spot. So now today it's like we embrace being copycats. So there isn't much creativity. So that's why when you have an artist that stands out, then it's like, whoa. Like a Kendrick Lamar would go the other way. J. Cole would go left when everyone is going right. You know, knowledge of self is important, whether you're a rapper or not, whether it's hip hop or not. I believe, like, you know, I mean, I always say, like, whether you are like a Migos, a Versace flow, whatever, whether you are that or you are a Kendrick Lamar, or you are a Tupac, or you are a Double HP or Squatter Camp, as long as that's your truth, that's who you are, no one can deny you that. You know, you can be a gimmicky rapper, but if that's you, you will do it so well because that's who you are. But then when you try to emulate or copy someone else, then it's like, oh, okay, you start seeing the flaws. So knowledge of self is, put it simply, man, it's speaking your truth. That's what it is. Because I cannot tell you that knowledge of self is learning graffiti, you know, writing a certain way or carrying yourself a certain way, speaking a certain way. That is not who you are. That's someone else's description of what hip hop should be. So before you even become a rapper, you should know who you are. So when you speak your truth. This is Infadizzle. You are tuned into Slaghuis TV. Black Power.
Super fact time. Yo, you know, most people are primarily introduced to hip-hop through music, and that's an amazing thing. But there's so much more that the culture has to offer. You know, it's super deep, it's inclusive, and we can use this as a tool to inspire the kids and spread positivity. But this all starts with you understanding yourself, you know, where you come from, and us as Africans. And we can use this as a tool to teach the kids on who they are. But that's knowledge to thyself. That's what's up. Respect the music. Respect the culture.